So my answer is actually a book that I mentioned in that cozy book haul tag. That was not the correct name. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with a cozy Christmas book tag. So as it is the week of Christmas, I thought that today would be a good day to do a Christmas book tag. Now I do have one that I created that I've done for a couple of years, but after doing it for 2 years, a lot of the answers are very similar and have not changed, so I would just be repeating myself. So I decided to scour the internet and decided to do a different book tag. So this is the one that I stumbled across. Like I said, it is the Cozy Christmas Book Tag, and it was originally created by Call Me After Coffee, and I will leave the original video down below. There are 8 questions, self-explanatory. We're gonna get cozy. It is very cold today when I am recording, so I have a quite large, very large cup of tea with me to keep me warm. So if you see that, that's what's happening here. I have a radiator just off camera because I am so cold. And let's just talk about some fun Christmassy things. A lot of the answers to these questions are not Christmas books, but that's okay. Let's just get into it. I'm excited. The very first question is Twinkling Lights, and that is, what is the most beautiful cover or book that you own? This is a very mean question, and I do not appreciate it. I'm having like a legit moral dilemma about this question, and I don't like the amount of stress that I have had to put into this. But as of filming this today, could change tomorrow before you even see this video. But as of today, the most beautiful book that I consider like the most beautiful cover is A Sprinkle of Sorcery by Michelle Harrison. This is the UK cover to the sequel of A Prince of Magic, and I think those books are both incredibly gorgeous. I went with this one because it's more teal, and I like teal. Teal is kind of like this kind of seafoam green, teal, bluish kind of color is one of my fave. And I just think the ship is so cute and pretty, and I love these covers. I think they're stunning. I think they're pretty equal, but I decided to go with this one just because the colors I like more than the first one. But like I said, they're pretty equal. The second question is the perfect tree, and that is, will you pay more to get a prettier edition or something like that? And yes, if it's within reason. I like specifically this. I held out on buying this one and the first book in a series of Pinch of Magic because I really liked the UK covers, so I specifically waited to get those so I could get the UK covers, but I didn't have to pay crazy amounts for them. I actually found them on Book Depository. But unless it's like a book that I really, really love, or a book by an author that I really, really love, I don't mind paying extra, but I usually don't, just because I usually just wait. I can usually wait until I find the cover that I want. The only instance where this is probably I would be paying more is if it's signed. If it's a book that is signed, yes, but again, within reason. I haven't dropped like 50 bucks on a book because it's a special edition. So that's really kind of went off topic there, but yes, within reason is my answer, because I will, but most of the time I just wait until it gets cheaper. And most of the time it's not like I want a special edition, it's I have the rest of the series in hardback or paperback and I want it to match or something like that. The third question is build a snowman, and that is to make a Christmas book stack. Whatever you want. So I shall insert whatever editing Kelsey has decided to put here. wasn't that cute? So the next question is a crackling fire, and that is, what book makes you feel warm and cozy? So I did a kind of cozy fall book recommendations last month, which really got me thinking to kind of what I like to read at the end of the year, what actually is cozy for me. And I think for me, it's romance books. I love fluffy romance, historical romance, something that's just like a nice, cute story. Hallmark movies, like the stereotypical Christmas Hallmark movies, that is my stuff. Like, I love that stuff. So my answer is Eligible by Curtis Sittenfeld. This is a contemporary, modernized retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but it is like, it's cozy. I love cozying up, sitting with a mug and a candle with a nice little fun, fluffy romance. That's my thing. So this is my answer for this question, but really it's just kind of like the romance genre as a whole would work here. So the next question is number 5, and that is knee-high socks, and that is, what is the longest book that you've read? And I didn't know if that meant like in 2020 or like ever. The largest book that I have read in 2020 is the 3rd book in the School for Good and Evil series, The Last Ever After. This book is 630 pages. No, way more than that. 655 pages. I expected the 6th book in the series to be the biggest one I read this year, but it was only 615, I think. So this one is technically the longest book that I've read in 2020. It's not very large. I mean, it's not very small. Wow, that's the opposite of what I was trying to say. It is quite a large book. I don't read a lot of large books. I usually don't like them. It kind of stresses me out to have a large book. However, when they're done, there's like this sense of accomplishment. So maybe we'll try to fix that in 2021. But yes, this is my 2020 longest book that I've read. And then I did go on my Goodreads to see kind of like what book I've ever read that's the biggest, and I think the one that's the biggest book that I've ever read is actually David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, which I read in 9th grade for school. I did not particularly love it, but it is the very first audiobook that I ever listened to because my teacher was really nice and understood that it was hard for us to get through such a large book, so he sent out a link for us to listen to the book so that we were still technically reading and you could read along with the audiobook, because it was like a computer file, so you couldn't listen to it on your phone or anything, and that was fabulous. He was a great teacher, but I remember reading this one in 9th grade, and like that's the only reason I finished that book, because it was so large. It was a stressful experience, and it took like the entire semester. No, I think it was half of a semester for us to finish it, but it was a large book. Didn't really love it. But then again, I didn't really read classics, so like maybe if I went back to it today, I'd have a different thought process on it, but that's according to Goodreads, that's my largest overall book, and I think Goodreads is pretty accurate about that. The next question is number 6, and that is ugly sweaters. What is the ugliest book that you own? This was basically just as hard as finding the prettiest book that I own, because while there are books that I think are prettier on my shelves than other books, there's not a book that I downright dislike, hate, don't want to look at it ever again. So this was really hard for me. I think the answer I'm going to go with is Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. This is a middle grade book that I read when I was in middle school, I think. But I don't like movie covers. I really, really dislike books. I understand why books put out new copies and new editions with the movie covers when they've been turned into movies. I understand it. Doesn't mean I like them. I understand. But I hate owning movie covers. I prefer the original cover 100% of the time. Sorry, I had to think about that. 100% of the time. I also am not a huge fan of realistic covers. I prefer illustrated covers, and I also don't like people on covers. Now, people, I'm trying to think if there's, like, this is a good example. Like, this is a half person. That's fine. I don't mind if it's like that, or if it's an illustrated person, but if it's a real person like this, I usually don't like the cover. So all 3 things that I don't like about covers is happening with this one. So this one I think is my answer. I still really liked the book, and I'm still going to hold on to this copy because I'm pretty sure this is the one that I read when I was in middle school. But it's probably my least favorite cover. Again, I don't hate it at all, but not my favorite. So I think I'm going to go with this, even though this was a very mean question, just like the first one. The next question, number 7, is Blizzards, and that is a book set in winter or a book that gives you the chills or has dark themes. Y'all know I don't do scary books. I don't do like chilly. I don't do horror. Now, thriller that has suspense, I'm discovering is actually fine, but that's not the point of this. I have a perfect answer for this one because I'm going to go with Green Glass House by Kate Milford. I read this in November, and this is set around Christmas and winter, and I don't know if you can tell by everything about this cover, but it is set in the winter, and it's all nice and snowy, and I think at one point the power goes out at this inn, and so they're all like bundled up with blankets around a fire and candlesticks, and it just gives you all of those cozy vibes, and very winter, very cold. You'll get cold reading this because they talk about how it's winter and there's snow when it's cold outside, but this is a really great mystery for middle grade, and I think it's perfect for Christmas, so I highly recommend. And also, like, it's perfect for winter. It's got all the cold feels. And the very last question, number 8, is home for the holidays. For the rereaders out there, are there any books that feel like going home? So I usually don't reread. However, on Christmas Eve, I actually do have a tradition that I've started with myself, and honestly, I have no idea if my parents even knew I did this, or like even my husband knows that I do this, but we have this incredibly gorgeous illustrated version of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. So my like little tradition that I have is I will read this before going to bed on Christmas Eve. But I've read this book on Christmas Eve before going to bed for years. I don't remember when I started it. I know I didn't used to do it when I was really young, but for quite a few years I've done this now. And I just love it. It feels like appropriate to read it right before going to bed. So that's kind of my reread and my going home, if you will, because I love it. It's perfect, and it just makes it feel like Christmas. It's so great. All right, so that is all I have for you guys today. Those are the 8 questions. Please let me know your answers to these. If you would like to do this tag, feel free to. There are a few days before Christmas, so you can sneak it in if you would like to. But I won't tag anyone specifically just because it is getting close to Christmas, and I know some of you probably don't all celebrate Christmas, but I wanted to do this because it just felt fun, and I feel like I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. If you didn't know by everything about me, I just wanted to do this fun, cozy tag. So I hope that this was a nice, fun time for you to cozy up and listen to some fun reads that I think are cozy. Again, let me know down below some of your answers. I would love to know those. So if you did like this video... Really? Cool. If you did like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I have more Christmassy videos coming up this week because it is the week of Christmas, and then we'll get back into some of the end of the year books. But I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!